Hi everyone. I've been asked about the flip flap page that I made with the Legacy Keeper dies. So I have done another version, which is slightly different to the one I did for the launch of the dies. And it's for this album here. Now this is a big album and it is a work in progress at the moment. Okay, so not all the fixings have been put in place and not all the decoration has been done. But I have done some of the pages. I'll go over how I made the album and the decoration at another point or in another video. Well, opening up the album, as you can see, it is a large album and it is very deep. So what I've done for the moment is I have made a pocket here, and I've also started to make 3 of the pages. And as you can see, I've still got some more spines to go along, and one of those will be for the flip flap page using the Legacy Keeper die. I've also done a form of a waterfall using a mixture of the Memory Book 1 and Memory Book 2 dies. But going to the flip flap page, which is what everyone was talking about, I've slightly changed it a little bit, but the layout is roughly the same. The reason the book's not lying flat is because of the pocket at the moment. So, the flip flap. This is actually the page which has the Legacy Keeper in. So, on my original one that I made for the show, I had one square here and it had the die which said reminisce and all the other words in it. I've slightly changed it for this album. So what I've done is I've actually made it so it will open up with magnets. The magnets there and there. Okay, so that comes there. Now this is how we remember the Legacy. So we've got the flaps that come out. I hope you can get it all in shot. And we've got the smaller pieces. And then I've got my central panel, and I've got a card, and I've actually paper pieced, or I've stuck down the word reminisce rather than actually using the die itself. I've got this on a bit of a flap. It means that the person can put the picture all the way down and doesn't have to worry that they've got to try and cut it off. On my original one, I did it so the dies went that way. This time round, the dies are going that way, so they close over on each other to make an actual flat page, as it were. This was because of changing this part here. Because this is a little bit weightier, I needed it to be on the longer dies, or the die cut, should I say, rather than just on the smaller ones. Okay, I'll move my arm out of the way, I hope you can see. So I'm going to go through today about how I made this and how I've used the dies to do it. But in a separate video, what I will do is show you how I joined it to the spine, as you can see the spine there, and what I did on the reverse. So from this one here, I've done on the reverse a plain page. I've got a flap, but I've got a card that comes in and out that you can put a picture on, so you could frame a picture if you wanted to, or it's just a separate mount. Okay, so if I pull that out, you can actually see the crease lines from the original Legacy die. So without further ado, I'm just going to put this to one side because it's obviously not a finished die. It's album. It's just a work in progress. So I'll put this to one side. I'll get all the supplies together and we'll start making the actual page, the interactive page. Okay, bear with me. Right, everybody, I'm back with all my different supplies. So what I've actually done is I've cut out the actual base using the main frame die. Bear with me. As you can see. And this is what we're going to be using, just this part alone, to help create the page. So what I've done to speed things up, I've checked all my creases and gone over with a bold folder, as you can see. Now on the original one I made for the launch of the Legacy shows, what happened was the longer flaps went across with the smaller flaps on top. And this was so I could actually put a panel, not this size, slightly bigger, on the top, which was then opened by the middle panel. Because in the album I've decided to do now, I want to actually open another interactive page, the weight meant I had to change it the other way around. So these are going to go on the inside and these are going to go over the top. Alright, so what I'm going to do today in the video is just get the rough making of the page together, where I've put the magnets, and then how I've actually attached it to the spine and what I've actually done. Okay, I'm hoping there's not too many shadows for you. If I put any more lights on, I think the neighbours might complain that I'm draining the grid. So let's start. Now, one of the questions that was asked was about this inside panel here. And all I did was take a ruler and measure from crease to crease. So it's just a smidgen short of 12 centimetres, so about 11.8. See, smidgen being a very technical term. And 20 centimetres in height this way round. So I've just cut a piece of backing paper that is approximately 5mm shorter, so 11.5 centimetres. I think I said this was 11.8, so it'd be 11.3. And I just cut a piece of backing paper so it will sit within that area. Okay. Now, for the project that I did for the launch, I did the backing paper so you could actually see a border that went round the sides. For this one I haven't. I've actually measured it, so I've got a border on the sides, but this is 20 centimetres from top to toe. Alright, I'm using an old Tim Holtz pad that I've had for absolutely eons. I couldn't cut into it, and then I was asked to make something male themed, and I thought, oh, I've got to use it finally. So that is all I did for this backing plate. Now you could take it one step further, and bear with me if I go and get my die. And if you put your die back on top, line it all up. If you really wanted to, what you could do is, once everything's there, is you could draw around the inside with a pencil, cut that away, and that would then give you your curved edges there to match perfectly. You could always cut from behind as well if you wanted to. Or what you could do, the other thing you could do is, once it's in place, is where we've got the notches, you could also draw around there with a pencil once it's all lined up and cut those away as well. So you can then create the layer to fit or to layer perfectly. The choice is yours. I've gone for just straightforward. If I'm being honest, main reason, I'm lazy. I also thought it would be nicer to have the back panel straight, so the shape of these panels stood out greater. I hope that makes sense. So that is your back panel. What would then happen is, I've then, using the memory book 2 dies, created another panel which would sit inside, and then this one would go on top for your layering, and that would be where my photo would go. Obviously I've not lined it up properly. And then I made a journaling card, again using one of the layers from the Legacy, which would then go on the top there, and that is just my inside panel. Okay, we'll go over that again just in case I'm rushing a little bit. Right, let's move these out of the way. So as I said, I folded these all in, and I've gone over the creases, and I've even turned it upside down. Alright, I'm working so the original look of the die is facing me, so I can see the original creases, and that on the back is the slight creases. You can just about see them there, because this will actually be covered at the end, as you saw. Right, because it's a male and I want to make it grungy, I am going to do a little bit of inking. So I'm going to go around all the edges, and I'm just using walnut stain distress ink. and I would go round, as you can see, and even on the insides there. So I'm going to pause the video here, and I'm going to carry on inking, and then I'll come back once all the inking is done, because I'm sure you don't really need to see me ink, even if I did fast forward it. Right, I'm back. I've done as much inking as I can, and I've even inked the backing papers and some of the plaques. So let's go about assembling this all together. Right, you might hear a funny noise. It's me sitting down now, and my chair going. Right, so to start with, I'm going to decorate the inside panel, and I'm going to put my glue, if it doesn't explode, and I'm using a wet glue because that's just my preference. Because I don't want it to come apart, so I should put the glue over there. I'm going to line up with the top, and then make sure the sides are equal. Now this might slightly hang over, but then I can cut away the edge. So I'm just going to look, if I turn it over, I can see that it's lined up and that the notches are similar. What I will do is, I always find, for me, I just take a bone folder and I will spread the glue out. If it squidges out, it can always be wiped away, and that way I know the glue's got right to the edges, and I don't have to worry then that, you know, the paper's going to come away, especially when you've added more and more layers to it. That's just personal preference. We all have our set little ways to do things. So I'll just cut off that excess part there. I've gone quiet as I'm concentrating. Now, as you saw, I cut that away. As I was saying before, if you wanted to, with a craft knife or a smaller pair of scissors, you could go into all of these areas and cut them away and still have them as decorative as the original die was intended to do. Right, let's get rid of that rubbish. So this is my inside layer. As I said before, I'm going to, let's move that. Whoops, sorry, dropped the camera. I'm going to put my panel, photographic panel, to match. It doesn't have to be, you can make it a journaling page. It's up to you whether you want it straight or at a wonky angle. I'm going for the wonky angle. I'm not sure why, but I think it's probably why I'm going to go for the wonky angle. Design feature, more on the basis that these are straight, then gives you something different to look at, or gives your eyes something different to look at. I'm just moving things around because I keep dumping things there. And again, I'm going to use my bone folder. One, to make sure the panel is actually flat and there's no raised bits from the glue, and also the glue is going to go to all the corners, as it were. I've also inked the edges to match here. Now I've got a cream panel that sits there. This die is from the Memory Book 2, and it's the one that comes with the fold on the edge. I've got one, so if you were cutting it, you could have it if you wanted to, so you could have a fold on the edge, and all I've done is just obviously cut down to where from where the perforations are, and then this one is the next die down. The shape of the Memory Book 2 dies goes beautifully, I think, with the Legacy Maker, especially on this type of page. I have used the Memory Book 1 dies to make some other types of pages, which I will share. I'm only going to put the glue around the outside because I don't want it to show too much on the photo mount, and I'm going to take off any excess with my finger. and just add that on. So that is simply the inside layer. What I next did was I found some old library index cards. Someone was getting rid of them. They're about, I suppose, about this size, and I thought, oh, no, I'll keep those. And that is just going to sit there. So someone, but start again, Louise. This is going to sit here, but I'm only going to glue along here. And the main reason is that you could put the full size photograph that you want to put on there, but they've also got some journaling space to write. Hi everyone, I'm back again. Unfortunately, when I went to check my videos, it would appear that certain things have been lost. The main thing that was been lost is how I did the magnets on the side. Luckily, I have yet to do the one at the top. So, what do? When I'm doing mine, I have to decide whether the magnets are going to go and how I want them opened. What I want to do for this time is I want to have a magnet on here, and I want this strip to come across and close. So the best thing to do is actually start with this strip first, place my magnet and work out where I want it to go, and then it's easy to transfer the other magnets over on to this side. I use red liner tape just to start my magnet off, and what I try and do is do my magnets so they're a little bit in from the edge. The main reason for this is I've discovered that if you don't, when you come to put your magnet on and you come and put your paper can sit high at the end near the magnet, or when you come to glue it, it goes all creased along this end here. So I do try and pull it in just a little bit. The other thing I find easy to do is, for this part anyhow, I do burnish the actual red liner tape. Okay, so, sorry, the noises in the background is my dog, who's desperately trying to come in to see what I'm doing. Right, sorry, and also now I'm making a noise looking for my pokey tool, which I can't find. Let's find another one. Right. Well, that's not going to work either, so... Oh, bingo, found it. Right. So, good old red liner tape. That will now stick to me for goodness knows how long. So I've got my magnet there, and it's a little bit in from the edge, and it's secured in place. The other thing I do like to do is I do like to put another piece of red liner tape over the top of the magnet, and then I'll just push it down and in place on both sides. This way I know the magnet, until the glue has at least gone off, is going to be held securely in place. So I pull that across, I'm going to put my glue on. I'm going to remove that lump though, that will bug me. And then just stick my paper in place. So I'm just going to bring it a little bit nearer to me. Because I've got the red liner tape on, I know my magnet now is secure. And then I'm just going to use my bone folder just to make sure it's secure in the front bit there. As before, I'm just going to use it to squidge my glue out. Now all the things I said it shouldn't do, it's now going to do, which is bobble up. That's actually probably more the paper. So, it's not the straightest, but that will do. So with that in mind, now I can actually look at placing my magnet for this side. So, I'm just going to get another magnet and put it along on the top there. So when I can then flip this over, it will then be perfectly placed to open and close securely. So another piece of red liner tape, and this is so this magnet can sit in place. Okay, I'm just going to remove the magnet while I take off the red liner. Well, I hope I am, but these magnets are strong. I use the 10mm by 1mm super strong magnets, which you can get from a lot of well-known sites, Amazon, eBay. If you're very patient, you can wait for a delivery from China, but I'm not that patient. So before I stick it down, I'm just going to make sure the sides are lined up. And put down. And now that magnet is in place to work alongside these. Because the video didn't work before, I'd already done the other two lower ones. So when now it closes up, they'll all sit and close up on each other, just like that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is decorate these inner bits, and then I'll decorate the other sides. It's up to you how you want to decorate them. I've already cut myself some bits that I'd like to use, and I've decided that I'm going to use some little journaling panels, and that was cut from the same card. Let's put that one in place. And another one. I mean, these, I know that I've got lines here and they're well, I suppose in my head they're journaling cards, but the person who receives it doesn't actually have to do journaling if they don't want to. They could stick a sticker, they could stick anything they want to go there. And then I've just chosen a piece of matching backing paper that matches these two designs here. So that's the inside decorated. And the only thing that's missing from the original design is the wording, the reminisce from along there. I was going to go and get the booklet, but it's all over the place at the moment. I'll show you towards the end. So that's the inside done. Okay, so now it's going to be decorating the outside and adding on the central panel. I'm just going to quickly pause because my dog's going mad. I think he might need to go out. Hold on. Right, I'm back. I was right. My dog did need to go out and have a random bark at someone. Okay, so I'm just going to put my magnets back because I don't need them now. Onto the front. So we've got it this way, or I've got it this way round. And what's actually going to happen is it's going to be this part here that will end up securing to the actual tab in the booklet. So that's one of the reasons I haven't cut these notches out, because it gives me a chance to run my tape all the way along here, which makes it a little bit securer. Also gives an added bit of strength to the backing piece of paper. So let's get these decorated up. I'm going to do the same as I did before and just add some red liner tape on top of each of the magnets, and I'll secure them down. Okay. I'm quite impressed they're in a rough straight line. So I've got really good as well. So I only have one pair of scissors gunky at any one time. I've literally kept to using those and then keeping my other ones for either paper or ribbons or whatever I want to do. And that was probably because of laziness. If I thought about things, I'd go and clean them a little bit more often. Alright, let's just move the red liner tape. See how much static I can get on me with the little bits. I've tried so many tips over the years about getting rid of the red liner tape. I'm not sure if any of it's actually worked, but hey ho. Right, so I've cut myself some panels. Let's just move those. I'm going to use for decoration. And these again are from the same Tim Holtz. I'm not sure which pad it is, Curiosities? Or I'm not sure if it's actually a mixture of pads. I'm just checking that the wording was in the right place. So I know the magnet is stuck down. I'm sure you can hear my dog having a good old bark. And it's probably the poor paper boy. Thing is, if the paper boy just came up and said hello to him, he'd probably run a mile. Okay. Just stick that there. Right, stick them down. Oh, if I stuck that there. There we go. Right, so they're done. So again, for now, the magnets still hold in place, even though I've got 2 layers of paper. Onto the front. Now, because I'm going to be using, let's move some of these scissors. Interrupt me. Because I'm going to be using a larger panel, which again I've cut from the Memory Book 2s, as you can see here and here. You don't actually, if you don't want to, and you don't want to waste any paper, have to decorate that middle panel. The choice is completely yours where that is concerned. Because all you're going to see is a tiny bit there and a tiny bit there. So again, it's your choice, or you could leave it as plain and just decorate the top and bottom. So I'm going to decorate the top and bottom, and then I've cut my panels ready. I love where the little dimples are on from the pattern. I love the like little popping. You probably can't hear it, but I can. As you press along, the little popping noise it seems to make. There we go. Line them up. I've inked all these edges as well. Not that the designs really needed you to, but I just thought it looked matched in a little bit more. Now I have cut myself a white piece there. As I said before, you don't actually have to put backing paper, because when I put the panel on, if you can see, not very much is shown. So you can make a decision. You can leave it so it's left with just the flap showing through, or you can add in your little bit of background. I'm going to add a bit of background just for something a little bit different and to make the darker panel stand out. Because it's a cream card, I always find that the glue can sometimes show through. I just smooth it down a little bit. See, that's not because I didn't do my trick. Move that along. That's it. Quite a bit of luck it is being covered. Dirty inky fingerprint. Now, that's that stuck. Now, as I said, this panel is going to sit on the front. and it will stick to this middle panel only. So it's going to stick to that middle panel only. Now that left me, or it made me feel that I needed to do something here and here. So what I did was, I've got another panel, but I've chopped it in half. So I can then put that one to go in there, that one to go in there. I'm not worried about the middle bit because this will then sit across the two. So now I've created a complete journaling page, or you could do different notes in different sections, but it looks like you've got a whole journaling page. So that's me standing up, just double checking that I was in shot. I'm just going to add these to it. And put that one there. Move it over. Oh, she's still having a good old bark. We made the mistake of changing the back gate, so he can now see through it, which means now, sort of thing, the world and his wife gets barked at as they walk past the house. Oh, let's line them up a little bit more. Right, so I'm just going to do that by, that's it. Just give my hands a quick. So we've got the panel, and this is going to sit on the front there. We've done a little bit of a cheat by cutting a slightly smaller panel and cutting it in half to fit. So now it looks like it was one page, and we've just cut it down deliberately that way. Well, that's what I'm telling myself, even if it isn't that way. And what's going to happen now is this bit is going to stick onto there with its own, move my poker tool, decorative panel on top. So I've now created a situation where I've got a flap that I can put some journaling. I haven't cut the pieces to go in there just yet, but just to give you an idea. So you can either put 2 photographs in there. You could put a belly band to go across the middle, so you could actually slide things into there as a way of storing things. Another thing you could do is just have one picture here, and if you get something like a bulldog clip, that's a bit better, a bit smaller one. You could have it on the top here as a decorative feature, and people could clip all the different things, which is actually what I'm going to do when I finish making this page, when it comes to actually all the decorating, all the faffy bits, which actually to me is the best part sometimes of making the project. Right, so I'm going to stick that page there to decorate it. And the reason I haven't cut the other pages, let's take that off there because it'll be smoother, is because I can't make my mind up whether I actually want to put a magnet on here to keep it closed, or allow it just to flap open. If I'm going to try and bring the other book, let's move that to one side. If I bring this in, what I've done here, as you can see, I put a decorative piece of paper here rather than the 2 panels, but because I've got 2 of these pages going in this one album, I thought it was nice to change it a little bit. And on along here, I've done my decorative paper as, oh, let's have a look, here we go, as we've done here. and inside I've done 2 panels. There is a magnet to keep both closed, as you can hear, but I can't make my mind up whether for this one, because I want to use the bulldog clip, whether it's worthwhile having a magnet or not. And that's why I've left it off for the moment. So it opens exactly the same way as we've been doing previous, and there, as I said before, was using the words to add the reminisce. The other things I have done on the flaps as well is I've used some of the other words like you, inspire, and on the bottom it's just moments. Okay, so when it's all closed you can see you inspire, moments. It's a great way of using up those little letters rather than just throwing them away. I do keep them in pots for a while and then just think, oh, need to throw them away. It gives you an idea what I was talking about with the bulldog clips on this page, but this is another page for another day. Right, I'm just going to move this out of the way. So we've got this page and need to line it up where you think it would go. It doesn't matter if you put it higher up, lower down, and then you did something along there. I just think for the moment I'm going to just do it so it's in the middle. I'm dreadful for measuring. I'm dreadful for measuring, so I'm just going to put some glue there and just work out whether that's enough. It should be. Put that in place, and then carefully, because it's gripped a little bit, flip it over and just check my lines line up. There we go. Double check again. Yep. And give it a really good push down. That's going to go on there, and then this part will actually just sit on the top here. You could stick this down first and then stick the main panel down. I just prefer doing it this way because otherwise the whole panel becomes too bulky and you're not quite 100% sure if everything's then got the stuck down as you would like it to. So I'll carefully open it. Because it's wet glue, I can still wiggle it a little bit. It's one of the benefits, I think, of wet glue. So that would be the flap. So as I showed you on the other one, there is a magnet closing it together, and that was obviously put in place before the patch is there. And all I've done is cut one of these smaller pieces, folded it in half and inked it, and moved it across to become my tab. So I've actually got something to open. Now, as I don't know whether I'm going to do the magnets or something a little bit different here, I'm not going to stick this in place for the moment. I'm just going to leave it there. Right, I'm going to tidy up, and then I'm going to bring the album back to show you how to stick this to the spines in your book. So if you give me a couple of minutes, I'll get everything ready.